I think it's a good way to call the game throughout the week before you're actually doing it live. Coaches need reps too. Those are my reps throughout the week. It depends on when I'm comfortable.
Welcome to the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. Today, I'm joined by one of the brightest minds in offensive football. They've done a great job at Washington and Jefferson, Shawn Glosek, the offensive coordinator. And he's going to talk about some ideas that make things go for them. And when we look at what they've done so far, his presence there has been a great program, but he's also had an impact. Last year, 2024, they were number 10 in total offense, 479.4 yards a game. 15th in scoring offense at 42.65 on third down conversions, 55.5. Number 15 in pass efficiency at 172.66, and number 9 in passing offense at 312.5 yards a game. All of that passing offense that they have, they only allowed one sack per game, actually a little less than one sack per game, 0.91, and just 10 sacks all season. Coach's resume spans multiple programs. I spent the spring of 2024 as the offensive coordinator and QB coach at Ohio Northern. In 2023, he coached running backs at Valdosta State, where he helped the program to a Gulf Coast Conference title and a deep NCAA Division II playoff run. His coaching stops also include Dickinson College, Lehigh, Kutztown, Bethlehem Catholic High School, where he helped them to a state semifinal. Today, we're going to talk about some of his offensive philosophy, the way he prepares for the games, and his thoughts on how you make it in this profession. Coach, it's great to have you here today. I'm really excited to talk about all these things with you.
What's up, Coach? Thanks for having me on.
So, Coach, let's dig into it right here. And first, talk a little bit about this background. You have had multiple stops here. You're a guy who started at the high school level. Would just love to hear how your journey as a coach, the things you've learned along the way, the influences have really brought you to where you are today to be at an excellent program leading a high-powered offense.
Yeah, so, my college playing days were cut short a little bit. I got hurt my freshman year at Delaware Valley College, did another Division III power program. So, yeah, that was that. And then I immediately knew I wanted to get back into coaching. I wanted to get right into coaching. So I called up my old high school coach. And it's actually funny. My first ever job was actually a middle school offensive line coach. And I'll tell you what, man, you learn a lot through working with some youngsters, and you really, really got to break it down. I do think that was a spot, early on in my career where I really learned kind of how to teach. And, I did that for 2 years, moved on to Bethlehem Catholic High School, a great program right where I'm from, about 15 minutes down the road. I had a lot of success there, a lot of great players. Then eventually moved on to be a student assistant coach at Kutztown University. If anybody knows really anything about Division II football and has really followed it past few years, that is a program that's a special place. And I was exposed to just being around a lot of really, really good coaches at such a young age. And I walked in there, I was a student coach, my hair was on fire, I was ready to do whatever. I'm very, very fortunate to learn from a lot of really, really good people there. And then that spring, right before I graduated, I was volunteering a little bit at Lehigh, obviously a historic program as well, some QC stuff there. Eventually moved on to be the receivers coach at Dickinson College, and a lot of great people there, learned a ton, finally able to coach my own position group at the college level, which was really, really important to me. Then eventually, through a mutual friend, I found my way out here to Washington and Jefferson. Didn't really know what I was walking into. I was an Eastern PA guy. I heard of W&J, but never really knew what it was. And then, I was here as a young buck. I was, coaching quarterbacks and tight ends for a little while. Then my second year, Coach Sirianni bumped me up a little bit. I was quarterbacks and pass game coordinator at the time. Then I was granted an opportunity to go down to Valdosta State. That was different. It was really, really good. Amazing players and staff down there. And it was such a learning experience. I've never been in that type of setting really. And, I learned some great football. Don't get me wrong. I learned an offense that, we have integrated in here at W&J a little bit, the air raid, if anybody has heard. But you learn a lot about yourself, really far away from home, different experiences, and you learn a lot about yourself and really what your strengths and weaknesses are. And it was such a great experience. And all those guys down there, I don't have enough good things to say about them. And then I was hired as the offensive coordinator at Ohio Northern by Coach Freeze. I was quarterbacks coach there for a little while, did a lot of different things there. And then my old boss called and last summer and was like, we have a spot for you if you want it. And a lot of my roots here. So I jumped at it and we were fortunate to have a really, really good season.
You guys have been known for your offense, and you're stepping into and getting the keys to the car for that. You told me before we got going, when people talk to you about your offense, they want to know what's the secret sauce for the Presidents. What is it for you? How do you guys shape this offense?
Yeah, I mean, if you watch us on tape, you'll see a ton of RPOs. You'll see us break in the pocket, some different pocket movement stuff, all that kind of good stuff, which is fine. But like, we pour a lot of reps into it and we make sure it's getting worked. Like, there is RPO drills that we literally do every single day, and our kids are really, really good at them. But also at the same time, we have really good players. We have really talented players who do a lot of really good things, especially on the perimeter. So we're going to take advantage of that. And then, vice versa, say we don't have a mobile quarterback or we don't have the receivers that we usually tend to have here at W&J. We have the ability to adapt our offense to whatever our players are good at. And that's a philosophy that Coach Sirianni believes in, that I believe in. And that is something that we take a lot of pride in. Adapt your offense to whatever it is that you're good at. If you're good at running the ball, then run the ball. If you're good at RPO game, then do that and make the other team or the other defense stop you. And then you can adjust from there. But I mean, the whole gist of it really, when I get asked about our offense, is mold your offense around whatever your players are good at.
And I think that's the most sound thing you can do as a coach, is to play to the strengths of your players. But there's a process behind that too. What is that discovery process for you guys? How do you go about from year to year? Even, spring ball is going to work different than the fall, and there's new pieces coming in the fall and just a different way of attacking things. So you might discover more in the fall too. How do you go through it? How do you figure out, this is what we need to hang our hat on with these guys. These are our strengths. This is how we build it for this next season.
One of the things is just repetition. I mentioned earlier, like, we do RPO drills every single day because we know we're good at them, but also like spring ball, in my opinion, is very, very valuable to figure out what it is that you're good at. Now, I know Division III spring ball is a little bit different than some of the higher levels, but we are trending in the right direction with Division III spring ball. And we get to put, some pads on and do some different types of things. But really, it comes down to reps. And when we've talked before, what is efficient? That is one of the things that I really, really pride myself and our offense on, is we are going to be efficient. We are going to stay in front of the sticks. We're going to stay on schedule. And if you have a method to do those types of things, to be efficient, to get those third down conversions, that's what you really got to figure out. So when you're doing your self-scout stuff from the spring or, fall camp or whatever it is, if this play or this concept or this scheme is not really efficient, there's two things you do. You either figure out why it's not efficient or you just scrap it and move on. That can get dicey at times. Some guy has an idea and he really wants to work it and see it. And then there's other times where it's like, we got to scrap this. We're not good at it. We're not picking it up right, whatever the reason be. But we got to scrap it. And those are the crucial decisions that coordinators, head coaches need to make to be able to stay efficient on offense.
You've mentioned your RPO drills a couple times here, so I want to pick your brain about that a little bit. What have you found to be those most effective things? You mentioned repetitions, and it is not the most effective thing to always just, hey, we're going to run it in team. You have to drill it. You have to invent drills that are going to get the most game application out of it. What are those for you? What have you found to work best?
So one of the things we'll do with the quarterbacks, and, we actually stole this from the guys in Philadelphia, in case anybody knows the connection. And they'll do this every day with Jalen Hurts. And like, we have don't get me wrong, he doesn't squat 650 pounds, but we have a version of, he can move a little bit. He has a big arm, stuff like that. And so what we'll do is we'll go with the running backs and we'll do a mesh real quick, go true zone read. That'll be a straight handoff. And then somebody else will be standing on the line of scrimmage and toss the quarterback the ball. And then now he's working whatever, and it's in the same exact rep. So now we're being efficient in our reps too. And we'll toss him the ball and he'll work whatever RPO concept we have out on the perimeter, whether it's a snag or everybody's running the Steve Sarkisian, like switch verts with the flat, stuff like that. So, we'll do all different types of RPOs out there, but also we'll work our bubbles. We'll work our now screens, stuff like that too. So that's one of the drills that we hang our hat on, and it's an EDD. We do it every single day.
And with those, I mean, the bubble you're going to throw, with some of the other things you're doing, are they making a decision out there as well? Or is there, other than a give pull read, are they looking at something out there and who they're going to key for the throw?
Yeah, normally I'll have one of the backup quarterbacks play, or one of the quarterbacks that aren't taking the rep. They'll play like the defensive end, and they know they're handing it off, but also at the same time, like at least give them the look that they're going to do in the game. Their eyes are in the right spot. And then we'll stick like an imaginary overhang defender out there, the guy that he's got to throw off of, and then we'll kind of make sure he picks the right spot.
So moving the preparation from the players to you, I think this definitely is something I think about all the time, that coaches have to get their reps too. And you have a unique way of doing that and how you prepare yourself. I would love to hear and have you share your process with our listeners.
One of the things that I really like to do when I'm doing my prep work, we just call it formational plays of the day. And really what it is, like there'll be a document made and it'll picture every different formation that we have versus their base look on how they align to this formation. And then I'll have beneath the diagram, I'll have beneath that the list of plays that we want to do out of that formation. And then what I'll do is I'll take the formational plays of the day and I will go into our huddle and I'll watch the games that we broke down and everything. And I'll go through with my formational plays of the day, call the game. So for instance, like it's 2nd and 4 in the second quarter and we're backed up and we get to the game and I've already ran through that in my brain 4 or 5 times throughout the week of like, all right, I like this in this situation. Here's why I like this in this situation. Let's do this. I think it's a good way to call the game throughout the week before you're actually doing it live. So again, like you said, coaches need reps too. Those are my reps throughout.
How many times do you feel like you go through that whole game scenario like that?
It really depends on when I'm comfortable, really. Like, so at minimum, I'm going through 4 games at least. And I'm going through the entire game, like every single game that they've played that we're in, whatever situation. If I feel like I need 1 or 2 more, I'll just go through that again. But my minimum is at least 4. I'm going through it 4 times, and whatever different situation comes up in a game, I'll be ready for.
Are there any things you discover in that process that as you look at the call sheet or look at what you did and what you guys have put together that you either kick out of that process or I guess maybe reorder your call sheet?
We will go when we first start game planning. Every single idea gets written on the board. And then, I'll go through these things. I'll go through my formational plays of the day. I'll go through my game prep and stuff like that. And, if I see a look that I think is funky or something they only shown this versus these guys, and I'll try and figure that out. And then I can either add to it or vice versa. I can go throughout the week and be like, hey, this needs to come out, this needs to come out, this needs to come out because they don't align this particular way only half the time. So it's half the time it might not work. It's mainly cutting. We're really not adding after like Tuesday, but it's mainly like all those ideas are on the board. Okay, now this doesn't look right. This doesn't look right. Let's take advantage of this. And then if I think it's a really good play where I could see myself repeating it again at some point in a similar situation, I'll put a little star next to it. And that means, all right, that's not just a one-shot play. We can run that a few times.
How do you handle things that are specials for you? Do you game plan those maybe for, hey, we're going to use this at a certain spot on the field. We're going to use this at a certain point in the game. I know I had a process for it. Mine was always, I did have something in mind for it. And part of my pregame was I would look at those situations on the field, move the ball around the field, think through my thoughts, but especially for the specials. Okay, when we are about this yard line, and a lot of them are hash specific on a certain hash, and sometimes I only want to be running it if we're going this direction just because I'm trying to hide this guy over here or whatever it might be. I mean, we had one like that with a backup quarterback who was throwing a pass, right? I'm going to sneak him in on my side line, not have him run all the way over to the other side. So there is a thought process to those too. How do you work that in?
Well, so if I know I'm going to get a base look for whatever formation, like if there's a situation where I know I'm getting quarters, they've shown quarters, this is what they do, I will look for the base looks. I want like the trick plays, or I'm not a big trick play, but also at the same time, I do think there is a lot of value. You just got to be really, really good at picking your right spot. And one of the things that we will look for as a staff is they're in this vanilla look every single time in this formation or whatever. Now would be a good time to throw a trick in there. We need a spark or something. So that's really what I look for when I do tricks. But again, I'm not a big trick guy solely because I don't want to take away from what we're good at. Now, don't get me wrong. We've been fortunate to have a few athletes roaming around this campus. And, we've dabbled in some different things. Like in 2022, we scored the game winner against Westminster at their place on a double pass. It was awesome. But it all comes down to timing and flow. And one of the things we look for is a really, really vanilla look. This is how they're going to line up. This is how we can take advantage of this with this.
In prepping yourself like this, how much of this helps you then with your openers, and how do you handle openers?
So myself and my head coach will sit down for a good 25 minutes throughout the week and talk about drive starters. What do we like here? And what we look for, like, so when we're breaking down the film and everything for the games that we're doing, we label it P and 10. So we'll go out there and we'll filter it and all that kind of stuff. And this is all of their P and 10s. So this is all their drive starters, right? And, we'll take advantage of, the looks that they're giving us in these formations. Now, like, for instance, if a team will line up in a formation that we don't have that week and that's just what they do and that's who they are, then that's fine. We'll just move on. And then we'll go, and if I don't have enough clips to really, really feel how I want to do, my openers, we'll look at the base formations that we do, and then we'll just go to first downs if I don't have enough clips. I like to have at least 25, maybe 20 clips of P and 10, and that's when I'll feel like good about it. And then we'll go through it as a staff and be like, all right, well, they lined up like this. This is how we want to attack. And a lot of it is, the RPO game, the quick game, handing the ball off, easy completions, just to get us in the flow. Just to get us like, all right, 1st and 10, first play of a drive, speed out, they're off coverage in the boundary, speed out, 2nd and 5, love it. And then now,
one of the things that really jumped out at me is with how well you guys threw the ball. You guys, highly ranked in efficiency, in yards, and the tops in, sacks allowed, less than 1 a game.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be attributed to a lot of things. One, it certainly is good, sound fundamentals for your offensive line and understanding your protection schemes and going in with a great plan. I think also probably some of the things that working into it too is how you mix up your play calling, that certain percentages do come from RPO or quick game or play action as well. What's the thing you feel are most important to have that kind of high-powered passing attack?
And every offensive coach will tell you this. If you don't have an O-line, you're done. It's going to be tough to operate. But with that being said, we put a lot on our quarterbacks. They have to make sure we are in the right pro to slide it the right way. We don't call protections unless we feel like we have to. Then we will start doing it. Last year, we had a 2.5-year starter. He was a PAC Player of the Year twice. He was amazing. Son of a coach, his family coaches. His brain was so high level that I didn't have any issues putting protections on his plate because he knew them. And he was very, very comfortable with that. And he was like, all right, I need to make sure I'm protected. But also, I think a credit to that, part of it is back to the RPOs, because we did a lot of our stuff, a lot of our explosive plays came off of that. And it was heavy run action. And one of our line coaches actually made the joke, like, our best pass protection is inside zone because it's all off the run action. So, like, if it's heavy in there, we're going to be on the perimeter and there's going to be nobody out there. Vice versa, it's light in there, we're going to hand the ball off, and we're going to play the numbers game. Those are some of the things that we like to focus on. So if you don't have a quarterback who is that high IQ, I would just tell you to make the protections as simple as possible. Give them rules. Give your quarterback rules. 5 up, this is how we treat it. 6 up, this is how we treat it. And then also I would tell you, for all the other coordinators out there, don't fall for the half-line slide trap. So, for instance, you naturally feel yourself doing it from time to time where the half line slide will, like, maybe it always goes to the field or something like that. I would emphasize to just try and get away from that, because I promise you, defensive coordinators are going to pick that up and they are going to see that. And then, boom, they're going to just start blitzing your back or all these other type of things. That would one piece of advice.
I loved being able to do that. I do agree. It takes the right kind of quarterback mentally to be able to put those in the processes. I also think there's some training to it too. And I know our offensive line coach really liked the protection call to be on the center. And I convinced him that, and I coached the quarterbacks as the OC, I really want the quarterback to have control. So our way around it, like before he would meet with me, coming in the beginning of the week, the first guy he went and sat down with was the O-line coach to talk protection. And he was really learning it like the center was. What was nice is our center and quarterback did a lot of communication, so they were on the same page. And if they saw it differently, we would default to that. So what I felt really good about that is we had two guys who really knew the protection, the center and the quarterback. And there would be times when, hey, maybe they didn't agree on who the mic point was or whatever it might be. They'd get a quick communicate in a couple words to get it to the right place. But I felt like it gave us a fail-safe, too, to make sure we were in something good if they were seeing it differently. But the other advice, the slides and stuff today, I see so many teams and go and watching high school games where they do it one way and they'll just continuously get abused.
Right. It truly drives me insane seeing that. Like, again, we always talk about, like, you want to keep everybody on their toe. You want to keep the defensive coordinator on his toes and everything. And you don't want to be so simplistic, but also at the same time, you're just giving away every time. It's okay. It's 3rd and 12. I know where you're sliding, so I'm just blitzing the other way.
We could get Wiley in here and he'll go on a rant about just using slide only protection. So yeah, great points there, Coach. Just to wrap things up, you talked a lot about just what you learned along the way in the beginning of your career and your different stops along the way. What advice do you have to offer to coaches out there to really get themselves ahead in the profession?
The gist would just be there is no job too small. There isn't. I did a lot, and I hate to be the back in my day kind of guy, but I had to make the copies. I had to, work the fax machine and sharpen the pencils, print out the scripts, all that kind of stuff. Everybody, and don't get me wrong, I struggled with it when I was a little bit younger. Everybody wants to jump to be the coordinator or the head coach or whatever so quickly. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but also there's value in learning the inner workings of how really the whole operation goes. And then when you do eventually get to that opportunity that you've been dying for to be the coordinator or whatever, your experiences are going to be that much more valuable because you did it all. You did the equipment, you did the copies and all this other stuff. And it's just going to make you that much more well-rounded and just that much better prepared for the opportunity that you just got. And I really do, like I told you earlier, I mentioned earlier, like my first job was middle school offensive line coach. Just seeing from where I've come from, like it's been a long journey, and I've had to do those jobs stink where, you want to be the guy, you want to be the man. Yes, like it's not fun, waking up it's super, super early to make sure the laundry's done. But also at the same time, like you're going to be that much better for it and that much more prepared when you do get the opportunity to call ball plays or to run your own program. You're going to learn different things about what you like, what you don't like. Okay, we did this back when I was at this school and the equipment room ran really, really smoothly. We did this at this school and the equipment room did not run very smoothly. Why is that? And, just so I think you could take a great coach always learns from every good coach that he's around, in my opinion. And, you take those different things from all these different guys' experience and you learn from it and you would apply it to your own teaching and to your own career. And I promise you, there's no job that is too small that doesn't, like, you need to sharpen those pencils and print out those copiers like the Super Bowl freaking depended on it.
That's right.
And if you do that, you're gonna make a lot of friends in this profession, and two, you're gonna find yourself in a spot that you do really, really want to be in.
Coach, I appreciate you taking the time, sharing the insight and ideas here on the podcast, and just want to wish you and the presidents the best of luck here in 2025.
I appreciate you having me on, Coach. A lot of fun. Thank you.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Coaching Coordinator Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Before we go, a big thank you to our partners who help us bring you the best coaching insights every week. Modern Football Technology, Signature Championship Rings, Titan Sensors, the Headset app, Coach Portal, Go Route, and Vertical Raise. These companies are dedicated to helping coaches like you gain an edge on and off the field. You can find out more about our partners in the 10% Toolkit. The link is in the show notes. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your coaching network. Until next time, keep learning, keep leading, and keep making a difference.